Building transit is expensive. That's the excuse we hear all the time. But what if the growth transit creates could actually fund the project itself? One example of it is Potomac Yard in Arlington, Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C. Potomac Yard was a freight train yard with old warehouses, empty lots, and parking lots dominating the area. Limited transit access and low property value left it largely overlooked. Things changed after the city started redeveloping the area, with the opening of an infill station on the DC Metro in 2023. Today, Potomac Yard is a vibrant, walkable, mixed-use community with easy transit access. The key to the success of Potomac Yard is how it was funded. Like I said earlier, one of the biggest obstacles to building transit and redevelopment projects is securing enough funding. That is where Tax Increment Financing, or TIF for short, comes in. TIF is a financial tool that uses the growth created by a project to help pay for the project itself. Here's how it works. First, the city identifies an underdeveloped area with old buildings, empty lots, and/or lower property values. These neighborhoods often need transit the most. Next, the city sets a TIF district and sets the baseline as the current property value. Taxes from the baseline value still go to the city's normal budget. Upfront investment in transit and redevelopment projects can come from bonds or other funding sources. As the area develops, property value rises. Any extra tax revenue above that baseline, the increment, is captured and used to pay off the project costs. So, how did TIF help fund Potomac Yard? In late 2010, Arlington County established a TIF district to support infrastructure improvements and redevelopment in Crystal City, Potomac Yard, and Pentagon City. The baseline property value was set in 2011. In fiscal year 2023, the TIF district generated $4.6 million in property tax revenue, which was used to fund street improvements that makes the neighborhood more walkable and bike-friendly. Looking ahead, fiscal year 2025 projections estimate the TIF district will generate $6.5 million. While revenues dipped during the COVID pandemic, they have rebounded since 2022. Another example of TIF is Chicago's BrightLine extension, a 5.6-mile southern extension from 95th Street, Dan Ryan, to 130th Street. In 2022, the area within a half-mile of the current and future red line from Madison Street to 134th Street was designated as the Transit TIF District. The extra tax revenue in this TIF district will help fund the red line extension. Interestingly, the TIF district is already generating revenue, even before the extension is built. This is because of the new developments that have already increased property value in the district. In 2023, it generated over $12.1 million, more than double the $5.5 million from the previous year. Of course, more growth and revenue are expected to come when the extension does get built. While these examples are largely positive, every financial tool can go wrong if not carefully implemented. A cautionary case is Hudson Yards in New York City. Located on the west side of Manhattan, Hudson Yards is built on a rail yard used by the L at the bar. The development included office, retail, and residential developments as well as the extension of the 7 train to support the development. Hudson Yards did not use a traditional TIF tool. Instead, it relied on a similar value capture mechanism. Developers paid discounted taxes, called payments in lieu of taxes, or pilots, to the Hudson Yards Infrastructure Corporation, which manages the development. That tax revenue is then used to pay the bonds funding the infrastructure, with the idea that future growth will generate more revenue. However, things didn't go as smoothly as expected. First of all, the revenue fell short of what was expected, so the city had to come in to fill in the gap. Moreover, cost overruns and tax breaks that benefited developers put risk on the public. The focus on luxury apartments with few affordable units also limited community benefits. Even without TIF, Hudson Yards was relying on future growth to pay for today's infrastructure, and it shows what can go wrong. Firstly, I think it is important to set realistic or somewhat conservative revenue goals. So if development does not happen as quickly as expected, there is no financial burden for taxpayers. Secondly, it is important to balance the interests of private developers and the public. Tax breaks and discounts given to developers in Hudson Yards ended up reducing the revenue, with taxpayers paying the price. Finally, equitable development is important. These new developments should benefit the general public. This means building affordable housing, not just luxury apartments. Gladly, New York City has learned the lessons from Phase 1 of Hudson Yards and is adjusting its strategies for Phase 2. Phase 2 will cover the rest of the West Side Rail Yard, creating a mixed-use community with housing, ample public space, a school, and a park. The development will feature up to 4,000 new residential units, which includes 625 affordable units. These are all moves in the right direction. Instead of issuing bonds to pay for those infrastructure first and paying it back with the revenue later, the infrastructure will be built as revenue comes in, a much more conservative approach. TIF can be a powerful tool if done right. Set realistic revenue goals, create mixed-use, walkable neighborhoods with affordable housing, and ensure the public truly benefits, not just private developers. Astoria, Queens, and Brooklyn Waterfront in New York City, and Roosevelt Boulevard in Philadelphia are all potential candidates for using TIF to fund transit projects and the redevelopment of the area. Many of these areas have transit projects have been on hold for decades because of the lack of funding, and TIF can be the way to finally have them built. While Chicago, New York, and Arlington have funded transit projects through projected increase in tax revenue, Seattle pulled off one of the fastest growing transit systems in the country with voter-approved tax increases. Learn about its story in this video.